She has invested a lot of time in gaining research experience at the University of St. Gallen and ETH. She also did intensive research field work in India. Dr. Rai-Rawat has also served the academic community in leading positions in multiple associations focused on the higher education. As the co-president of the Action Uni, Switzerland, as a coordinator of the doctoral training in Eurodoc, as a board member and events coordinator at the AVETH, as a social internship coordinator of Asian Student Association, University of St. Gallen, as a member representative of the National Social Services, MDS University, India. She is also engaged in multiple organizations and universities as a mentor and strategic advisor. She has consistently served at the religious centers and humanitarian organizations. She has also been engaged in continuous learning of Vedic studies and other subjects. So with this, I'd like to invite Dr. Rashmi Rai-Rawat for our talk on mindful anthropomorphism. Thank you.
Hello. So greetings everyone, Namaskar and Hare Krishna. So first of all, I would also like to just acknowledge something which I heard about myself actually. I do have some experience, but it's on a very, very basic level, not at all compared to what the other speakers have. So I'm just beginning, and with their blessings, I would like to introduce you to what I have been working on. And in today's presentation, actually, it's not going to be a very scientific presentation, as you have heard earlier from the very renowned scientists who are sitting here. I'm coming from a social science background, and what I'm going to present to you will be a very, very brief introduction of a transformation of between the different processes. And I'll elaborate more. So my topic is related to mindful anthropomorphism, building new pathways to global peace. Now, before I could elaborate more on this topic, I also want to inform you about the process of preparing this presentation. First, I thought that I would just insert many, many pictures. I would add lots of data. I'll have lots of graphs in it, and I'll make my presentation like brilliant. And then suddenly, this thought came into my mind that what exactly I want to share. Like, do I want to share my presentation with the brilliant AI concept images, or I want to just transform the real message which I want to share it with my audience? So thinking about it, I prepared something very simple, and I would like to invite all of you to engage with me in this thought process. My work is divided into two parts. So right now what I'm going to present to you is a thought paper, like a preparation of a thought paper. And hopefully in few months, I will be, of course, bringing a lot of data in, and I'm going to show you the results of my work. So to begin with, this is like snapshot of my work, which I'm going to start soon. This is a quote from the Bhagavad Gita. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of living entities, attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. This is not a new literature. When we talk about literature and research, this literature has been in our scriptures since many, many years, Bhagavad Gita, and this particular quote is also focusing something related to peace. We will come back to the peace explanation a little bit later. Now I'm going to introduce you to the second. It's just a brief introduction of what's coming next. It's a quote from Fry Northrop. All of the literature is an attempt to find a human face. This is all what we are trying to find. We want to find kind of comfort from other person, and if we don't get it from another human being, sometimes we find it in nature, sometimes we find it in paintings, sometimes even in rocks. But this whole attempt to find a human face in nature, and that civilization itself is the process of making a total human form out of nature. So just think about this whole process, that whatever thoughts are going on in our mind, we again and again come back to connecting ourselves with some human emotion, with some human figure, with something related to human beings. Maybe not always, but most of the time. Now I'm going to inform you a little bit about the process of how I started thinking about the piece in this way. So I did my PhD research work, and my topic was related to low-tech traditional industries in India. It was an intensive field work which I did. It was divided into 3 stages. The first stage, and it is actually not even the first research work, it was the pre-stage of the research work. When I visited India, although it's my motherland, but my eyes became a little bit different, my perspective became a little bit different when I started visiting traditional industries over there. And I'm talking about the grassroots level. When I started visiting without any intention of doing research at that point of time, I was just trying to understand that what exactly are these artisans doing. For example, artisans who are making agarbattis, incense sticks, painters who are doing miniature paintings. It could also be from a little bit of a violence is involved here, but the artisans are also doing work on the leather. And one thing that I have noticed in all the different villages and the towns, industries, small SMEs, small NGOs where I visited, that there was something common in all of them. And I was not able to figure out what exactly it was. So, but I was interested in this topic. So I did my PhD, and that was in 3 stages. So first stage. So now, please, I again invite you to think about this process. My first stage was just to get an idea and get interested in what exactly they were doing. And that brought some kind of a peace inside me. And I didn't know what exactly it was. Then came the stage of a desk research where I read my literature, and there was no peace, to be honest with you, because it was all about doing it right technically. I was trying to find multiple literatures, convincing my professor, and just trying to bring in data to make my point. That's all what I was doing. I had no peace. Then came the next stage when I again visited field. It was very difficult to explain in words, but there was a peace involved in it. When I saw again artisans working 8 hours, 10 hours, and smiling, when they were just having enough to eat, like just a piece of bread, and still they were not changing the jobs. And I was just thinking that I'm taking interviews from these people. They are peaceful and I'm anxious. So what is that which I'm missing? So this was one stage. Then the next stage was, most of you are researchers here and you understand this. So the second stage was coming back again and doing the desk research again. And then again I went to India, and now this was like 2 months on road. Like literally, I was on road with my parents, going from town to town, and in selected cases, like there were, and I intentionally wanted to stay where these SMEs were working because I really wanted to witness it. That what happens when the doors closes, what happened before the door, because my mind was skeptical. I thought this is all data, this is just they are showing it. I want to see the real truth, what exactly they are doing. And of course, again, my peace was disturbed. Not at all the places, but at some places, because I saw the truth. I saw what was in the data and what was happening. And a part of me wanted to become a doctor, but a part of me was struggling that, where are the ethics at some point of time? I had this confusion that the data is showing there are 100 crores invested in this particular firm, but the artisans are doing a strike outside because they didn't got 100 rupees in that month. And there were similar things were happening. And it was, again, not a very peaceful time for me. But then later on, I realized that this industry was giving employment to thousands of artisans. There were employees, there were government employees, and the structure, of course, it was an unorganized structure, but it was on such a huge level. And when things happen in such a level, there will be disturbances. So then I focused on the processes. Of course, not for my PhD work, that was different, but my mind, something was going on. And then I realized the pros and cons of high-tech and low-tech. So recently you just saw wonderful, amazing presentations from the senior scientists here, the Tesla example, and also even from the Sankhya philosophy, the other kind of work which the presenter was doing. And I was, again, back in my field, I was thinking about high-tech and low-tech. And at that point of time, I had a revolution, like not a revolution, I was a protest in my mind that, this high-tech should disappear. Sorry, apologies for the scientists. I really felt this high-tech should just disappear, because if it will stay, what will happen to the artisans? What will happen to the middle-class employees? Because, the jobs will be taken over. And there will be poverty. So imagine this whole thing. On one side, we are proud of science, and I'm not against science. I am also, using all the tools, and right now as well. But on one side, there is this high-tech revolutions. But on other side, there are people who are depending on food, and they are not skilled. Like a lot of them are not skilled. This is what they know. And imagine a high-tech computer comes and takes away job of 100 people. There will be poverty. Are we prepared to deal with that poverty? Okay, let's have lots of robots here in this world, in this planet. Let's make them, maybe it's, I would argue about it, but it could be another discussion. Make them peaceful robots. But are we ready to deal with this poverty which will come after that? The unemployment issues, the poverty issues, the mental problems which will come. It's happening, actually. We are living this phase. So this was one part of it. Then another thing which inspired me was looking at disasters from distance. You all know it, you all are aware of it. Different countries fighting among themselves. There is like wars, there is a destruction, and it's disturbing. Although we are here in Switzerland, we think we are untouchables, nothing will happen. Recently, I was talking to Param Tattva Prabhuji, and he was mentioning about a documentary related to Gaza. And it was disturbing for both of us to think about it, even to imagine, but subconsciously, we are in a peaceful state. I have a nice apartment. You all have nice apartments. We are sitting in a very nice building. But what will happen tomorrow, we don't know. If we will not work in the direction of global peace, if we will not think about peace, we will soon be in the same state. When we talk about countries, just giving an example, not to offend anyone, it could be India, Pakistan, it could be Ukraine, Russia, or it could be any other. And now this is macro level. Now just come down and think from the micro point of view. Neighbors are fighting, and now I'm not talking about the macro global level countries. I'm talking about the conflict between the human neighbors. And you see from where it is coming. The peace, the word peace, it could be on a very micro level and it could be on a global level. And effects we all are seeing. Sometimes the flights stop, the whole thing stops, and we suffer. There are also sicknesses because of different, it's not a similar topic, but everything is happening globally. And we need to think from an individual micro level on this point. Now comes the part of the spiritual activities. So coming back to my field work, there was one thing which I noticed when I visited some of the units, especially in the traditional rural areas, where the nature plays a very big role. When the units, and by units what I mean is the small NGOs where the work is going on, low-tech work. And if it is surrounded by the nature, there is some kind of a sattvic or energy is already there. And then I noticed their routine in the morning, and I'm talking about like a job. People come there, some are walking like for 8 miles, 10 miles. They come there, and the routine is to do a prayers like we used to do in school. And for me, it was like these are employees, they're getting salary, and the employers are paying them, and 1 hour is just their prayers. And this mind, I was calculating the cost disadvantage for the employee. And then I spoke to the head of the company, and he said, they work for me 8 hours, sometimes more. And it all is happening because they invest 1 hour in the prayers with me. And now, because I did the field work and it was the Khadi Industries India, this is a practice which Mahatma Gandhi started. And as you all know, he's also the role model of peace. So this is the kind of a discipline in these units, which is happening. Of course, not everybody is following. But I did notice that where it was not being practiced, the level of not ethical things were happening more over there. The way people were connecting with each other, how the employees were talking with the artisans, it was clear for me that there is a difference when the peaceful sattvic activities are absent. There is like disturbance in the peace. So all of this combined, now in the last thing, so my background from management, economics, engaged in spiritual practices, dealing also sometimes with the NGOs, observing them, and also a little bit of interest in natural science. This all was, it was just boiling in my mind, but I didn't know how to use it. So again, we are talking about the processes here. So to consider a thing rationally means not to bring reason to bear on the object from the outside and so to tamper with it, but to find that object is rational on its own account. So now, quickly, I would like to inform you the work which is not at a very mature level. I've just started understanding more related to my main topic. This is anthropomorphism. But before we understand that, we need to go a little bit backwards and to understand, like we talk about religion, but actually this word it came into existence much, much later. Earlier, people couldn't even speak the language. They were like, nomads, or even but they believed. They believed in stones. They were worshipping stones. So, if you very briefly, I just want to introduce you very briefly to the origin of how it all began. The theoretical foundation of religion are actually coming out of the two foundational stocks. One is from the believer side and one is from the non-believer side. Believers means, it's a very simple understanding. Believers are those who have some kind of faith in God. And I'm not talking about Christian God, Hindu God, or any other God. It could be nature, but some trust that there is a power. Like if you think about the history, especially in the tribal areas, and it's actually happening even today, people are praying to fire, water, but have you ever thought why? Why were they doing it? They didn't knew God. The concept of God came much later. But why were they doing? Any ideas in the audience? Yes. One of the reasons is survival. Any other? Exactly, fear. They were afraid. They were, and can anybody think about this fear point to just follow up the last comment? Fear of what? Of death. Fear of death. It's the biggest fear. Everybody knows that they're going to die, but there is a fear. And especially in that time, in the history, if you go back and you think about these primitive people, whenever there was a lightning, they were afraid. And what they did, they just went in their cave homes and they prayed to rock or whatever, shapes they have given. Please save me. And if there were like diseases, which they didn't knew about it, they just thought it's a curse. It's a curse from God or supernatural power. But they were believers. They believed in something. But in the theory, in literature, there is two different parts. Believers, there is a segment who believe in something. Then there is a part of non-believers. So believers, there is how the truth in question came to be known. If conscious people who already endured the religion, but since it actually required that religion as a context, that does not persuade a non-believers. Now there's always a conflict even in the literature. We cannot find the 100% peace anywhere, not even in the literature. So the past 2 centuries, religious writers who have attempted a general theory, such as Friedberg, Otto, Eliot, have argued that what religious share is not belief or perceived, but an experience. So, on one side, there is a group which believed in something. They didn't know what it is, but they believed. And then other part, it was not convinced with their belief, because for them, their belief was just an experience. Like in today, if we talk from the point of view of our current world, when we are talking about the people who believe in religion, and there are, scientists also believe in religion, but some of them don't. They're atheists. So there is a conflict, because from scientific point of view, whatever is happening, like why a person dies, there is a logic behind it, why people are dying. If somebody gets sickness, there are facts and they would prove it. So this is like the most classical theories, and I I have to still read a little bit more to understand it more. It's like just the beginning of my research work, so please bear with me. Then after that, there are humanist theories of religion. So the believer and non-believer was just the beginning of everything, theories. Now, this is very interesting, and I think all of you could relate with it as well. There are three building blocks of the humanist theories. The first is wish fulfillment, second, social functionalist, intellectualist. So, like what we discussed just few minutes before, people were afraid, people were fearful. That's why they went towards praying or to believing in something. And this particular pink block section, it actually indicates the same thing, the fear. People create religion in order to elevate unpleasant emotions. And this was like Hume, Karl Marx, Ludwig, if you will go through their literature, they are also kind of supporting this theory. Then the second is social functioners. So now then the second one, the blue block, it was kind of not convinced with the wish fulfillment, because wish fulfillment was all about okay, if there is a disease, then we should pray. If there is a death happening, it should pray. And the social functionist, now you could think about the kind of big kingdoms or big empires, like Roman Empire maybe, or any other, where the king became the god. Or even in some of the religious institution, not to mention any names, but the head of the religious institutions became God. And that was, although the initial idea was logical, the idea was that just to think that God without a form, actually with the wish fulfillment theory, the problem was also, it was not logical for a lot of people. It was vague, it was abstract, it was not giving any proper proof. It was very, very vague. So that's why, and as it's a human nature, we need to connect with something to believe it. And that's why the social functionalist theorists came. And they introduced this idea of society, connecting with human beings, thinking in forms as a human being. So it was easy, like, okay, this is the head, he's taking care of the society, so he could be the god. And this idea in the society, of course, there were always, some people believe in something, some people don't. But this was based on the social order. Then the third is intellectuals. So it's like, you see the progression. Human mind is always thinking about it, arguing about it, discussing about it, reflecting on it. And maybe for a certain period of time, they might follow something, but it still have to connect with them individually. I can be a part of group for maybe 10 years, but if it will still not connect with me, I will find another way out. Because this is human nature, it has to connect. And the intellectualists, the religion, what they said is religion as an attempt to interpret and influence the world, a task it shares with science and common sense. So here, everything broadens. And here came the scientists, philosophers, people from different fields. And of course, there were always, arguments, some, and it still is happening. But it's in the theory. These are the three main parts. Then there is also something very interesting, which is related to the human theories, that people create religion in order to elevate unpleasant emotions, which was the first wish fulfillment part. They also do it to get rid of their anxieties, for age, for tragedy, like the example of the tribal people we discussed. And then I actually laughed when I read about it, but it's kind of true. We can relate with it in our inner self. And there is one theorist which wrote about this concept, and he said the the God, and this is like somebody who was criticizing, maybe not criticizing, but who was not convinced that there is a God. And they said uh, the God tossed all life into confusion. So this is the work of the God, because he tosses all life into confusion, that all of us from ignorance and uncertainty may pay them to more worship and reverence. So it was also, a part of the blue book, because at some point when the king started, spreading this notion that they are gods, so they were also, controlling people by using this power. Then there was also some critics who mentioned about self-delusion, that sometimes, and also we read in Bhagavad Gita and also in many other scriptures, people think about these theoretical concepts, and not only think, but they also start believing in it so much that they forget about karma. They don't do work because they think God will come and do it. And this is delusional. So this is like theorists who they were criticizing this particular type of believing in religion, that it's delusional. Then affirmation. Then one more thing is affirmation that death is not real, that man has a soul. I mean, in Bhagavad Gita, we always read about the concept of soul. And the soul is moving from one body to another. In Christianity, they think about, this is the one and only life. And of course, different religions have different way of explaining their belief. But here, Melnevik, another very nice religious writer, he writes, affirmation that death is not real, that man has a soul, and this is immortal, cries out of deep and to deny personal destruction. Religion is entirely different from science and other secular temple, which is, okay, from their point of view, it's logical that, you cannot deny death. And you cannot think that, we are nothing, this only soul. It doesn't function this way. We have a human body, we have to live, if you think from a practical point of view. Then, here comes this topic on which I want to work a little bit more, and it is related to anthropomorphism, but it's also one more concept, it's animism. So animism means attributing life to lifeless. So sometimes, especially if you read even in the newspapers, or if you watch some documentaries related to the people who are suffering from the mental illnesses, they sometimes just have a doll of somebody who has maybe a mother or wife or a partner, and they just think that doll is that person, and they believe it. So this is kind of animism, attributing life to lifeless. And also, but anthropomorphism is a little bit different, the attribution of human characteristic to things or events that are non-humans. So just to give you an example, an automobile purrs like a kitten. So just imagine an automobile, and it makes a sound, and you relate it with the animal. So this is animism. But when we speak to our turtle, or parrot, or dog, or cat, when we are really speaking to it, thinking he's understanding, and that's anthropomorphism. So, and one more example is, if we speak to the automobile, we both animate and anthropomorphize. Then I would also like to give you an example of a daughter of my friend. Few years back, she had a birthday, and she was maybe at that time 2 or 3 years old. And she was, watching a cartoon on a TV. And then it was because of her birthday, her parents brought this laptop, and there was a Zoom, and there was her grandparents were on the screen. And the baby could not differentiate For her, the Barbie doll and her grandmother both were related to her because they have human forms. So in the eyes of that 2-year-old, the grandmother and Barbie were same because they both were also on screen. But the mind of the baby could, at least understand the human forms. And if you could see, but of course, we all do it when we are child, and as we grow, let our minds get mature and we think differently. But still, we need this, this connection with the human beings. So it's so difficult to, speak this word. Anthropomorphism is an interpretation of what is not human or personal in terms of human or personal characteristics. Now, just the last parts of my presentation. Now, anthropomorphism, if you think about robots these days or computers these days, what is happening? Any suggestions why people, not scientists, but a lot of people are so afraid of AI, robots? Why is it happening? Any idea? Yeah. Superstition? In what sense?
Well, giving an object life according to the inner belief of the person, that is a fantasy.
Okay. Why do you think that robots are being given this form?
Because people don't know what they are.
No, I mean, why are they given, why are they given the human form? I mean, they could make just, like a flower, or they could give...
For the same reason, so that people accept them.
Yes, acceptance, connection, acceptance. And then this is exactly what is happening, and it's scary. It's scary when you connect with the machine, and it is, even if we go a little bit earlier, and if you just think about the first computer and how the progression was so fast of this IT, and especially, even when we just had this simple box, still people were able to relate with it. And if you think about Steve Jobs' work, he introduced also a lot of, IT symbols on it. Maybe the IT professionals know more what they did, but it was also, to connect it with the human psyche. Because also when you see that, in the chat, this one cartoon comes up, can I help you? It's been given a human form so that human being can connect not with the machine, but a machine which is in human form. And this is happening because in most of the field, almost every field you see, the effort is being done to humanize the machines or even the artwork. So if you see from lot of artists, and in the earlier presentation, we have seen the Van Gogh painting, The Starry Night. And this is for him, it was just a starry night he was visualizing. And when Van Gogh's painting is seen by the general public, they might be thinking about, maybe romance, they must be thinking about poetries, they must be thinking about something else, but Tesla saw something else. So but still what we are talking about here is human form. Now, if we think about the moon, there are lots and lots of poetries are written, artwork is done by thinking moon as a human being. And you can also relate it with your own experience. And there is very, very interesting mention about the log in the literature, that when the people who go quite often in the forest, especially the people who cut the trees, and a lot of times they just see not the log but a bear, and suddenly they get afraid because the fear comes. And when somebody, maybe if another person would tell them, no, it's not the wood, it's just a wood, it's not a bear, then there is some kind of a comfort comes back. So it's also related with the perceptions. And there's a lot lot of literature behind anthropomorphism. How is it? It could be, like there are pros and cons of it. But the interesting thing is, the thing which I'm trying to work on is, can we do something about this particular concept that it could become peaceful and it could help in the global peace? And there are different perspectives, science, arts, philosophical, and from every perspective you could see the human connections. Now, again, what is the biggest challenge faced by the world, like current world? What is the biggest challenge in the current world? For sure. Yeah, but here for my topic, this is peace actually. Peace. Peace, and here there are a few quotations I have collected, and I just want to mention, maybe read one of them. If the importance of securing international peace was recognized by the really great men of former generations, but the technical advances of our times have turned this ethical postulate into a matter of life and death for civilized mankind today and made the taking of an active part in the solution to the problem of peace a moral duty which no conscientious man can shrink. And this is quoted by a scientist. So it's not about technology being good or bad. It's more about how to use the technology, how to divert the technology which is more peaceful, which, like, for example, there was a poetry which I read, and it was in Hindi, but I just want to give you an idea that in the war, two soldiers met, and they were from the opposite parties, like from different, they were enemies. And then they saw each other, they didn't kill each other. They didn't kill each, because suddenly this emotion came in their heart that, he looks like me, maybe he has a family, and why to kill when nobody is watching? And they didn't kill, and it was a news. It was like it was a fact. But imagine if it would be a robot having a bomb or a bullet, and there is a human being. Is he going to get these sentiments? So now, just to conclude, so what I'm trying to do is, like, this is a framework, pillars of peace. This is from this would be used to measure the peace, because to publish a paper, we need to measure it, we need to really, really prove it. And there are different, it's not tested, I have not tried it yet, I have just found the framework, and it's related to the global peace. And there are different components here, like, for example, well-functioning government, free flow of information, acceptance, rights, and all these things. Now, the thing is, like, if we just, there could be many more boxes added here, but if you just think from this point of view, we are talking about three concepts here. Peace, then we are talking about global peace, individual peace, which starts from our mind, global peace. Then we are talking about anthropomorphism, and this is an important concept, because everywhere you see, everybody's trying to connect human with this emotion. So why not use it for positivity? Like, if we could find a way together to change these processes which are happening in science, in art, even like on individual level at home, if we could change it in a sattvic way, in a more spiritual way, in a more peaceful way, maybe everything would take us towards peace, and we need that. We urgently need that. Now again, to conclude, although attempting to bring about world peace through the internal transformation of individuals is difficult, it is the only way. peace must first be developed within an individual. And I believe that love, compassion, and altruism are the fundamental basis for peace. Once these qualities are developed within an individual, he or she is then able to create an atmosphere of peace and harmony. This atmosphere can be expanded and extended from the individual to his family, from the family to the community, and eventually to the whole world. So it all starts from here, from you, from each one of you, from me. And when I began this presentation, I was explaining a little bit about the process of my research work, and I was deliberately pointing out about few things that I was peaceful during this phase, I was not so peaceful. And imagine if the process, even the process of thinking, becomes peaceful. So whether you're cooking, you are driving, you are working, you are talking to your children, you are talking to your husband, you are talking to anybody, or you are thinking about, let's say, maybe growing a plant in your garden. If you just for a second hold yourself, do nothing, just think, how can I make the process peaceful first? Because the problem with all of us is we don't think about it. We just rush everything. And this disturbs the peace. And it happened with me many, many times. And I realized it's all about the process. To do everything, it has to be peaceful. Even the thought has to be peaceful. If it is disturbing, there is something we need to do about it. So the last slide. What are the new strategic pathways which could lead towards establishing the sustainable global peace? And these are some examples which I had collected for computer. And this is just the beginning. This is like really, I'm on the, how to say, when they just, when the athletes are just sitting and they're waiting that somebody would shoot and they would run. So I'm at that stage. So please forgive me if I made mistakes. There are more learned people around here. And my objective is to understand this particular concept, because I myself, most of the time I see the images in clouds, and my husband sometimes while driving, he said, have you seen that car? And I said, no, I saw the face on the cloud. So this is happening with me, and I'm relating with it. I like also, if you see the map of India, lot of people are patriot because there is face of a female form, and they consider it like their mother, Matrabhumi. Cow. In Hindu religion, cow is given so much respect because it's connected with the human form, and that too with the mother. And they could also see so many other religions and countries' backgrounds. As soon as you connect it with some religion or with human touch, it becomes something else. So I'm sorry, I have taken more time. And thank you for your patience. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this nice talk. We have a question.
I really want to thank you for your presentation. And I think there's no coincidence. Nothing is by chance in this life. And I thought it's so interesting that you gave your presentation after Marco Kracic is your name, Marco Kracic, that he spoke of Sankhya, right? Because he spoke about Sankhya and yoga. And that's exactly the fundament of peace. So peace is the result of nonviolence. So what is really missing in this world is nonviolence. When we practice nonviolence, not just in the aggression of physical violence, but all sorts of aggression, be it mental, be it emotional, be it in form of word, if we learn nonviolence, then we produce peace. So I just wanted to, it's a kind of a question, but also kind of a contribution, because that's what your talk has kind of triggered in me, these thoughts, and I wanted to thank you for that. And the other is when you talked about the religion and the intellect, it came to me, how does the Sankhya and the philosophy of yoga relate to that? And the both terms of avidya and vidya came to me. And one is, avidya is ignorance, which also has to do with maya, with the illusion, like the snake in the rope. When we see in the dark, we see the belt and we think it's a snake. That's maya, it's illusion. So the against that is the practice of, not the practice, but the direct experience, to seek direct experience. Because the opposite of the direct experience is the superstition, and that's ignorance. So.
Now, I completely agree with you, and that's why, if you have noticed one thing, my title of my presentation is not only anthropomorphism, it's mindful anthropomorphism. It has to be mindful. It cannot be mindless. If it will be mindless, already there is a chaos in the world, it will increase. Whether it's Sankhya philosophy, whether it's a science, or whichever path people are pursuing, it has to be mindful and peaceful. And as you rightly said, if there is a non-violence, a lot of problems could be solved even just by communication.
And the result of non-violence is peace.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
Hello, hi. My name is Vishwa. I'm just trying to understand this word anthropomorphism and trying to connect it with spirituality. Is it something like we pray to God? God is a stone in the temple. We assume he is a superhuman who will come and save our life. That we just be so emotional, which we call in other words as devotion or bhakti, that we just treat him as a superhuman and give it all to him, and then we feel at peace. Is it a way to connect like this? I don't know your thoughts about it.
Oh, it's very good question, but I would try to put it in another way. So, you rightly said the human form. So, like the attribution of human characteristics to things or events that are non-humans. So, I am a big believer of God, but still, just to give you an explanation, when we go in the temples, the form you see of the gods, it's somehow related to the human beings. And somebody has given this form. And it is very difficult for us just to go in the spirituality mode without having any object in front of us. So, have I understood your question right, or is there anything else?
See this word, this concept as praying to God as anthropomorphism.
It's a very, very big and complex topic, but very briefly, it just means the human connection, how we connect with anything. By using, like in computers, because computer talk to us, we connect it with the human communication. With the temples, we connect with the deities because it's a kind of, we see the shape. So.
Say something? The experiments that I have for 4 decades about a relationship with God, for me, is given by authentic experiment from an authentic person who repeat the words of God as God was speaking and presenting himself in the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And by following the authentic person who can see God, I receive the vision of God in my heart, and I can experiment it in my mind, in my heart. And this person is showing me how the statue you call in the temple is not a statue, but is a form of God installed with bona fide different prayers and sacrifices which is mentioned in the Vedic literature. So it's not a speculation from men. So if we want to really develop peace in the world, and we listen from the person who is the most authentic person, God must be perfect. And God, the knowledge coming from God is perfect because God is perfect. According to our experience, if we follow the line of the mother says to the son, "Here is your father." So the mother is authentic representation of truth given to the son, and then the son can believe the mother, "Here is my father." Similarly, if we want to really develop peace in the world, it's really common sense to go to the person who is perfect, who can give perfect knowledge. And this person says in Bhagavad Gita, again, as it is, Bhoktaram yagyatapasam yoga sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam jatvamam chanti richati. So this is what Lord Krishna himself, he exposed himself as God, but he proved it. But if we follow the way he's saying, this is a formula, peace formula he's giving in the Bhagavad Gita. If you bhoktara yamyata pasam, if you go, you offer all your sacrifice to God, to Krishna. If you offer to your sacrifice Salvaloka Maheshwaram, and he's revealing himself as the proprietor of all the planets. Salvaloka Maheshwaram, he is the proprietor of all the planets. Suridam Sarvabhutanam, God is the best friend of all the living entities.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I completely agree.
And the last line is Yatvamam Chanti Richati. Then we can attain the peace formula. And this is the peace formula. If we want to really develop peace in ourselves and in the world, we just follow the instruction given by the most perfect person who has no defect, God. That's all.
Here it's also, it's about in Ishopanishad, this is like the principle of being perfect. Like the first mantra of Ishopanishad is about perfection. And I also agree that God is perfect. However, different people and through different times have seen their God in different forms. Some have seen in stone, some have seen in water, and I'm not arguing that deity, which are installed in the temples, are not bona fide. I mean, of course they are. That's why people are going there and having this fiction. But I was just like, in the previous question, it was just about the concept. I was just trying to explain what it means about the statement. But yes, the Supreme Lord is perfect, and I believe it. I'm a big believer. Yeah. And I
Okay.
believe in science also.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this wonderful talk. Big round of applause for the speaker.
Thank you.
We have a gift of token.